Hey there. So today, what I wanted to do was talk to you a little bit about how to avoid weight gain in menopause. Because as we go into our 40s and 50s, our hormones change. And when we gain weight in menopause, it's not a willpower problem. It's not a case of restricting more and more calories. It's a case of our hormones are changed and we need to work with our hormones rather than against them. So the issue that we have when we gain weight in menopause, it's not because we aren't trying. So we beat ourselves up because we think we can't do it because the weight seems to take a long time to shift. We beat ourselves up, we feel guilty around food, and consequently, our relationship with food deteriorates. We don't feel as comfortable in the clothes that we're wearing. We don't like the look of what we see in the mirror. We hide from pictures, all that kind of thing. Our self-confidence can plummet. And this is simply because we are beating ourselves up because we think we can't do it. We think that in order to manage our weight in menopause, we have to calorie restrict. That's what the food industry wants us to believe, that the only way to manage your weight is calorie restriction. And the only way to calorie restrict is to buy their processed calorie controlled foods that will help us to keep under a certain calorie limit. But the simple fact of the matter is, if we are calorie restricting on calorie controlled foods, those foods cause the problem in themselves because when our insulin is high in the system, insulin causes us to hold on to fat. It causes us to store fat. So as we go through menopause, the relationship between estrogen and insulin changes and we become less sensitive to insulin and it rises higher in the system. And if insulin's too high in the system, the receptors, the insulin receptors on the cells will shut down. They'll turn off so that the insulin can't take the glucose into the cells for energy production. We then might feel more tired and then we'll reach for foods to try and make us feel less tired, more sugary foods. And this cycle begins where our insulin is too high, we can't get the glucose into the cells for energy production, we eat something to try and boost our energy, and that just then continues this cycle of too many calories, too much weight around the middle, too higher insulin, which causes us to be more hungry as well. So when we go through menopause, the key is not to calorie restrict. The key is to control our insulin, to get our insulin low and steady. Because when insulin is low and steady, we don't really release the hormone ghrelin that tells us we're hungry. So we don't torture ourselves around being hungry, but not allowing ourselves to eat anymore because we're calorie restricting. If insulin is low and steady, we then release the hormones that tell us we're full. We can release the right hormones like GLP-1, which will slow our stomach emptying time, and we can actually start to manage our menopause weight gain more efficiently. If everything you did in your 20s and 30s is no longer working now in your 40s and 50s, it's because you need to change. You need to move away from trying to control your body and start working with your hormones, start working with the drop in estrogen, start working with the fact that insulin rises higher in the system and trying to eat foods that will bring insulin down so that we can reduce the fat storing impact that the insulin has, and we can also then start to burn fat. We eat slightly less. We're not snacking all the time. Snacking all the time, another thing that the food industry want us to do, snacking all the time pushes your insulin up, which means you are always releasing ghrelin, which will always tell you you are hungry. So you want to give yourself time between meals for insulin to come down. And that means going for 4 to 5 hours without snacking, without eating anything. So the insulin comes down naturally and we become a much more efficient fat storer. It's also very, very good for the liver. If we allow insulin to come down naturally, the liver can start releasing stored glycogen, which is the stored form of glucose, which puts a lot of pressure on the liver, which is why a lot of women in menopause see metabolic liver problems like fatty liver disease and stuff like that, or sluggish liver, because the liver is having to store all this excess glycogen that the insulin can't take into the cells for energy production. So it's a bit of a vicious cycle. And it all ends up with being metabolic weight gain. It all ends up with weight gain around the middle. And that is weight around the middle that is harder to control. It also has huge impacts on the body as far as inflammation is concerned, speeding up the aging process, making our menopause symptoms worse as well. So, in order to get our menopause weight gain under control, we need to bring insulin down. And that needs us to start the day with protein because protein will help to keep insulin really nice and steady. It needs us to go from one meal to the next without needing to snack because that's going to allow insulin to come down and to start burning fat for fuel and to start releasing glycogen from the liver to allow the liver to become more healthy. And it also needs us to have a good night's sleep. Get to bed earlier, stop the doom scrolling, after 9 o'clock. No doom scrolling after 9 o'clock. Get to bed, get a good night's sleep because insulin will reset through the night. And that will then help to control your choices the following day and it will help to bring insulin down further. So, insulin is the key to get weight management or to get our weight under control in menopause. Getting insulin low and steady is exactly the thing that we need to do. If you are struggling, just download my free ebook, How to Crush the Cravings in 3 Easy Steps. That's going to show you some really simple steps that you can take with all the details on how to take them to get insulin under control so that you can start to lose that menopause weight effortlessly. If you've got any questions, just give me a shout. Let me know in the comments below if you do have any questions, and I'll speak to you very soon. Take good care. Bye bye.